The 2024 general elections are fast approaching and are expected to be a watershed moment for South Africa. DA Member of Parliament Glynnis Breytenbach is urging South Africans to vote or get the government they deserve. For more on this, Breytenbach joins us now. Thank you so much for your time this evening. So when you say vote or get the government you deserve, do you mean the current government or any government that doesn't fulfill its promises?
Well, you know, South Africans are notoriously lazy about voting. So there are approximately 13 million South Africans who are eligible to register to vote who are not registered. 8 to 9 million of those are under the age of 30. So you know, that's a huge amount of people, and if they register and vote, they can make a significant difference in how the government in South Africa looks. If you don't register and you don't vote, well, then you get the government that you deserve. We've got the government now that we've deserved because, you know, people didn't turn out to vote and people didn't register. People think the ANC is unassailable, that their position is unassailable, that it doesn't help to go and register, it doesn't help to go and vote because you can never vote them out. Well, that's just not true. During, you know, the Mbeki era, the ANC had a majority of the voters on the voters' roll in terms of support. At the moment, they have 25% of the support of the people on the voters' roll. So they have only 25% of the registered voters are keeping them in government. It's because the rest of the people haven't gone out and registered and haven't gone out and voted. In 2009, we had an 80% turnout. In 2019, we had a 65% turnout. All of those things make a big difference in how the government will look. So if we want to get rid of the ANC, if we want to get rid of corruption, if we want to get rid of a useless government who's done nothing for South Africa, then people must go register and vote. It is entirely possible to vote the ANC out. And honestly, after 30 years of corruption and maladministration, it's time for them to move on and make space for people who do want to make a difference and who can do the job.
So you talk about voters as being lazy, but I think many voters perhaps are disillusioned. They have political and corruption fatigue, and as you say, they feel that their one voice in the many millions and in the darkness doesn't really make a difference. They've lost faith in the system. It sounds like you still believe the system works.
I absolutely believe the system can work, but the system will only work if you get up and make it work. And it's every citizen's responsibility to vote. People, our constitutional democracy was hard won. It's a precious, precious thing that we can never take for granted. Many, many people fought long, hard, and died for the privilege of voting. It's a huge privilege. It's a right. It's something that you should never let go of. And South Africans should register and they should vote. We can get the government that we want. We can get a government that delivers. We can get a government that cares if we vote. And we've, at the moment, got the government we deserve because we don't vote. We've got a government that is manifestly corrupt. And I understand that people have political fatigue and corruption fatigue, but if we do not get up and take control of our own future, our own destiny, then we will sit with this problem in perpetuity.
So people are clearly also fed up of the current status quo. As disillusioned as they might be about voting, they're not having any more of what they currently get. They don't want to put up with it. So load shedding, crime, corruption, state functions that simply don't function, decay, deterioration, and that's not just in the rural areas or in, you know, far-flung communities in the middle of the Free State and the Eastern Cape. That's in some of our biggest, supposedly proudest cities as well. Do you expect a record turnout at the polls as people realize that that's the only way to change it? Or is a part of you really worried that we might continue on this slippery decline to lower and lower voter turnout?
I'm extremely worried that we continue on this decline of lower voter turnout. and what everybody, every responsible South African should be doing. People always say, what can we do? What can one person do? What can I do? Well, there's something that one person can do. There's something that you can do. You can go out, register to vote, and vote. It's your constitutional duty to vote. This country's future depends on it. You can't put a higher premium on it than that. If you want a country that's going to work, that's going to still exist for your children and your grandchildren, then you have a duty to go out, register, and vote. We can turn this around. But the only way it can be turned around is each South African takes the responsibility, who's eligible to vote, who registers and goes and votes. Okay. A stay-away vote gives you the government that you deserve. It gave us the government that we've got.
So the DA has launched the Moonshot Pact. What's been the response so far, not only from other political parties that you are partnering with and from your constituents, but from opposition parties as well?
Well, it's been a mixed response. Overwhelmingly, it's been supported. Obviously, if you sit and think about it very carefully, then it makes perfect sense that like-minded opposition parties with shared common values must stand together to bring the ANC as low as possible in this coming election and as far as possible under 50%. South Africa cannot stand another 5 years of this mismanagement, this corruption, this wanton larceny. The country, the disinvestment that will take place as a result of load shedding, of our cozy relationship with Russia and China, this country cannot take another 5 years of this. South Africans must get behind the Moonshot Pact. We've got to support it. It's the only way out of this mess. It is what will save us. It will save you. It will save me.
Aside from the Moonshot Pact, what I'm hearing is, do you think that we've reached the point where if things don't change now, we'll have gone past that tipping point, past the point of no return, where South Africa would be in such a dire state that pulling it back from the brink will be virtually impossible?
Pulling it back from the brink now is going to be an enormous task. Everybody involved in doing that will have to work 48 hours a day. And they're quite happy to do that because it is still possible. It can still be turned around. But if this election is an absolute make or break election, and that is why it's called the Moonshot Pact, we've got one shot at this. 2024 is our shot at turning this country around. And people really need to take that very, very seriously.
Well, thank you very much. A very clear message coming from Glynnis Breytenbach from the Democratic Alliance. Use your vote. It is your constitutional right. It is also your civic responsibility.